Hello and welcome back to Film Frenzy. This is part 2, so if you missed part 1, go and check that out, or you're not going to have a clue what is going on.
Yep, we were challenged to make a fantasy film in 12 hours using the words brother and alarm clock.
Yeah, so I guess let's just watch it, shall we? Without further ado, here is the world premiere of First Light.
No! No, brother! Brother, please, save me! I can't, brother! The portal, it's too strong, there's nothing I can do! It's okay. The portal will reopen tomorrow at first light. Be here then, please, brother! I will, brother! Be strong! No! No! Brother! Oh! Brother! Brother! No! Brother, I'm so sorry I'm late! Brother, where were you? Oh, I'm sorry, brother. Oh, I'm so sorry. If you can even hear me, I'll be back tomorrow. I promise I won't be late. I promise. I'll set my alarm earlier, half an hour. Hope you're okay.
Well, there we go. That was First Light. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, definitely not our best one, I don't think.
Definitely not, I would say.
But, you know, as always, okay for the amount of time. With this one, I felt that we were the furthest away from nailing the genre, I guess.
Getting the fantasy part of it, yeah. There was very little fantasy in the film.
Like, I feel like we were almost clever with our way of attempting to do fantasy in such a short amount of time. And obviously, the bits that were fantasy kind of worked, but it did a little bit feel just a bit cheaty.
We were just sort of like, oh, this is a fantasy, and then no, it's not for the rest of the film, we'll just move on. But, you know, it was very
about
much...
30 seconds of fantasy, maybe.
Less than that, I think. Yeah. But, yeah, it was still the best we could do in the time. You know, the setting of the woods is very fantasy-based, and doing that research at the beginning, like... Fantasy films, there's quite a wide variety of them. You know, there's traditional fantasy films like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, sort of really set in a fantasy world. But fantasy is almost just anything that's not reality.
Yeah, almost. like we said, like the idea of superheroes being fantasy wasn't something I was even thinking of beforehand.
Yeah.
So. I think we did all right on the other words, so like especially brother as a key word, we took that very literally.
It was like in every line of the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
Brother!
And I guess alarm clock, like that still is a fairly large plot point.
It played a very small part in the film, as in it wasn't in it for very long, but it was kind of a whole impetus and the idea for having him late and you know, having to come back at a certain time. Like, it was the basic setting up for the whole idea, even though it did play a very small amount of time in the film in terms of how long it
being
was
on screen. Yeah, of course.
But it was quite significant. So I think, again, both those points we did fine. It was more just the fantasy elements I felt maybe we could have done a bit better with.
Yeah.
Obviously, as with all of these things as well, like the time meant we couldn't do the idea to its full extent, but I felt this most on this one more than anything.
Yeah.
I think the expectations versus the reality of the film were the most disparate from each other.
Definitely. Like, when we were out there filming, I felt like we were trying really hard, but things just kept going wrong, and we kept having to be like, well, that'll do, and move on. Like, we didn't have the time.
Like, it was a combination of us not having enough time to come up with the ideas, but also then not having any prep time to be able to pull off the ideas we wanted. Like, I would love to have him to be playing, like, a game of Dungeons and Dragons or something, but on his own.
Definitely.
Stuff like him on a seesaw on his own and that sort of stuff.
Really emphasise the fact that he's lonely. Like, the amount of hindsight we had when we were in the edit and all that was huge compared to the rest of the film.
And it's like we both simultaneously came up with ideas and we're like, can't do that, and then also in the edit being like, oh, we so should have done that.
Why did we do that?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things we realised in the edit was that our emphasis was a little bit wrong on what we were focusing on. Like, we just had him being a bit bored and a bit melancholy, but we really realised in the end that we should have had more emphasis on him missing his brother and feeling lonely, like, you know, whilst watching Game of Thrones, looking over and being like, oh, he's normally here watching it with me. All those things to emphasise that all these things he normally does with his brother, he's now on his own. And I think that's where we kind of missed the trick there.
Definitely, but, you know, we did what we could.
This is also the first time that having to do it on the day we decided really was against us. Like, the fact that it was raining on and off all day really sort of held us back in a lot of ways. Like, we were running in and out so many times.
I'm pretty sure we wasted probably 2 hours throughout the day just waiting for the rain to stop. So.
And I think, like, a lot of times we would run out, shoot a shot, be like, that'll have to do, it's starting to rain again, let's get back inside, you know. So that again meant that the quality of some of the shots we did weren't as good as they could have been.
If only we had a sound stage where we could make an indoor woods.
If only, but one day.
I guess I really enjoyed the fact that we've never really dipped into the past before. Like, we've set things in the future or in like space, or that's kind of the future, but most things are just set now. Whereas this, it's going in the past a little bit. I know kind of fantasy isn't truly the past.
Yeah, more that sort of, you know, medieval sort of vibe and stuff. Yeah, I think we did okay on that, obviously, but then we still did just set it in the normal.
Of course, but still, trying to get those costumes, like, to look oldie-worldy, and even getting an oldie-worldy backdrop, like, the woods still doesn't look as good as a real forest would have. Like, we were just in a backyard woods, not a true big forest somewhere.
The costume as well was like, we were lucky we had what we had available to us. Yeah. But it was one of those things of just like, this film would have been so much better with a much better costume.
With any amount of prep, it would have been miles better. I guess I should say as well, I really enjoyed wearing the costume by the end of it. The hair got on my nerves.
Yeah, the hair's so annoying.
But
it
was so fun. Dressing up is a lot of fun, I've discovered.
Yeah. I definitely like the robe cape thing. I reckon I could actually
pull it
make
off.
That a part of my everyday wear.
It's all yours, my friend.
Yeah, I might have to.
So I know we said that the beginning and the end of the film, like, that we're not spending too much time in this fantasy woods, but the time we do spend in there, I don't think it's that bad. Like,
it ended up working okay.
We got the portal effect, which I know we stole.
Yeah, I think that definitely helped. Like, we wouldn't have been able to pull that off in the amount of time we had without being able to steal the effect. Yeah. And so it felt a bit cheaty, but I think in the end result, that was one of the most effective parts of it, I think.
Definitely. It really just made it more fantasy. The purple light on everything, being in the woods, that screams fantasy to me.
Like, it's definitely not the best visual effect in the world, and like, but I think our anticipation of how it come out, like having to do it like in a different location with the green screen like inside, and then us, like, it was such a horrible way to try and do it. But I think in the end, it actually ended up not looking too bad. Like, I think the effect sort of does work.
Definitely, and I think the music that we use throughout the film as well, like, that's also bringing in the fantasy element. Yeah. It's all that whole pan pipes and whatever, all that
was
stuff.
Definitely my favourite joke in it, is that you
playing the pipe,
the recorder,
yeah.
Like that bit. Like, that was one of the ones I was really glad that we did come up with, because I could so imagine us being in the edit being like, oh, you should be playing along them to the music. So that was one of those ones I was like, when we came up with that, that was really good.
So fantasy, short but sweet.
Yeah. So there we go, that was our fantasy film. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you liked this little chat we had here. And thank you very much for watching, commenting, liking, subscribing, all of those great things you do.
Yep, and also a massive thank you to our wonderful patrons as well. Thank you all very, very much for the wonderful support. But I guess until next time, goodbye.
See ya.